This is like the 5th time I've tried recording this, so if it doesn't work out this time, then I'm just gonna... I wanted to come on here and talk about growing up as a takeaway kid and how embarrassed about it I was. It was really when I went to secondary school where I started feeling embarrassed. I started to realise like the people around me, the people that I went to school with, their parents had respectable office jobs, and I think that's when I started to become more mindful about my situation, my upbringing. I remember after school or during summer holidays where I'd have to go to the takeaway, before I would knock on the door for my family to let me in, I would literally look all around me to make sure that no one from school or anyone that I knew would see me walking into the takeaway. But do you know what was funny though? I was so desperate to make money, I actually asked my auntie and my dad if I could start working there on a Saturday for a few hours, and they said yeah. They paid me £20 for 3 hours. Do you know how good that is as like a 12-13-year-old? So I would either help my auntie at the counter taking orders or pouring the sauces, you know, the sweet and sour, the barbecue, the curry. But what I do vividly remember is that if I saw someone from school come in, the way that I would duck and then dive behind that counter, you'd honestly think that I was Tom Daley. Like, I was nowhere to be seen. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was just so embarrassed by it. So much so that I think I only worked there for not a very long time, maybe a few weeks. I actually went and got a cafe job, which was a 30-second walk away from the takeaway. It sounds really sad to say, but it wasn't really until last year that I got over this embarrassment. Not because it had taken me so long to not feel embarrassed, but after uni, when I was 21, I moved to London. It's one of those things where it's like out of sight, out of mind. I never really thought about it. I was going on a bit of a self-discovery journey, and I was recommended a book called Takeaway. It really changed my whole perspective. It spoke about the struggles of our grandparents having to immigrate to a new country to build this new life, not only for them but for the future generations, and like simply how hard they had to work for me to have the opportunities and the life that I live today. I remember my parents saying to me when I was in my teenage years, I want you to focus so hard on education because I don't ever want you to work in a takeaway. And maybe that's why a lot of Asian families put pressure on their kids to do well at school, because they just don't want the same life that they had growing up. Reading that book also made me feel emotional because it said in there that from the outside, people just see it as a storefront, a counter, someone taking your orders, someone giving you your food. But in reality, like, yes, there is a storefront, but behind that counter, there's individuals, and every individual has their own story. So even though they all look the same from the outside, it really made me think about my grandparents' story, my mum's story, my dad's story, my auntie's story. Like, behind that counter is a family who is cooking you food with love for you to enjoy on your Friday or Saturday evening. Behind that counter is a family who is literally sweating their asses off day and night just so that their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids can have a life that they never had. So yeah, when it comes to telling people that I grew up as a takeaway kid, I'm no longer embarrassed by it anymore. In fact, I'm super proud, and I'm proud of my heritage. I'm proud of my family. Big up families who run a takeaway because it is not easy.